Episode 49. Should politicians use AI?
The AI6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
Last week it emerged a UK politician's ChatGPT searches were shared with a journalist under a Freedom of Information request. So it got me thinking, should politicians use AI, and if so, how should they use it? Hello and welcome to the AI6 podcast, the podcast for marketers embracing the AI age. In just 6 minutes a day, I demystify AI and help you become confident and competent as a first mover and adopter. Peter Kyle is the UK's Technology Secretary. The FOI request was submitted by the New Scientist magazine, and it revealed that Kyle had used ChatGPT for policy advice, including questions about AI adoption in UK businesses and suggestions for podcasts to appear on. In the article, John Slater, an FOI expert, says, "Personally, I wouldn't see ChatGPT as being the same as a Google search because Google searches don't create new information. ChatGPT, on the other hand, does create something based on the input from the user." The UK government responded, meanwhile, in the same week that they unveiled their 50-point AI plan to reform public services and the British economy. The UK government responded to criticism about Peter Kyle's use of ChatGPT by emphasising that the technology is used as a tool to support his work, not as a substitute for comprehensive advice from officials. A spokesperson for the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology stated, "As the Cabinet Minister responsible for AI, the Secretary of State does make use of this technology. This does not substitute comprehensive advice he routinely receives from officials. The government is using AI as a labour-saving tool supported by clear guidance on how to quickly and safely make use of the technology." So the release of these records raises questions about transparency and government use of AI tools, and it raises the question whether such tools should be used and also if they should be considered public records. Now we have precedent, and I expect many more journalists in the UK, but also here and elsewhere, submitting FOI requests relating to AI use. And so the big question is, should politicians use AI? Here's my take. Political parties should have an AI policy to guide their members' use of AI and provide a system for oversight. If you tune into episode 45 of this podcast, you'll find out what's in an AI use policy. Politicians, staff and advisors should also be trained in the ethical use of AI for their work, as well as the tools they are allowed to use, because we know that shadow AI is on the increase, and shadow AI, which I've covered before on this podcast, is the use of AI by employees despite their employers either not allowing it or having a policy. Privacy is key when it comes to AI use, so any tools used should be approved by IT departments and especially on work devices. Explainability is important when using AI. This means that you can explain how you use AI and the output from it. This drives trust and transparency. Labeling of AI content is also important, and AI should only be used to review and summarize publicly available information, not to determine opinion from internal documents. We know that these tools have inherent bias. So, in the AI age, lean on your experts more than ever. They have never been more important for your work, quoting them as your sources as opposed to an AI tool. When it comes to bias in these large language models, which power AI tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Llama, and Claude, you should remember that taking advice from them is not what you want to use them for. Always keep a human in the loop. All AI work should have human oversight. Find tools that help you. Have a list that you have tested and trialed and that have passed your use case scenarios. AI is a collaborator, not an original creator. And embed them in your daily work, guided by your AI use policy. Politicians can and should use AI In fact, they're probably using it already, and entire workforces are going to be using AI sooner rather than later. The recent Microsoft Trinity College Dublin report, Generative AI Use in Ireland 2024, points out that 49% of organisations are already using generative AI in some form at this early stage of availability. In summary, AI is a tool. It's not a replacement for authentic leadership. Disclose AI usage where relevant, train your assistants, and champion regulation and ethical standards. Lead by example. AI in politics isn't inherently wrong, but using it without transparency is. The public deserves to know when they're talking to a person and when they're talking to a prompt.
The AI6 Podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
So what are your thoughts on politicians using AI? Let me know. As always, I invite you to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you're interested in learning more about AI for marketing and communications, check out my diploma in AI. Use the code AI610, or you can hire me for an in-company workshop. This is the AI6 Podcast. I'll talk to you on the next episode.